Now, Continue provides two distinct ways to configure, and I'm going to show both of them due to CLI. Now, first off, I've already initiated the CLI using CM, and here you're going to see I've got my Continue agent, which is contribute.info, which is what I've named, and I got a few MCP servers. But what's not clear is I actually have access to multiple different configurations for my agents for different situations. So if I go to /config, I'll see my configurations that are already set up from my Continue account. Now, because I'm a daily user of Continue, I've actually have multiple situations of my personal account where I have my general and my local config, which I'll talk about in a moment. But then under my Continue organization, I've got multiple different types of configurations for docs, some with Supabase MCP set up already out of the box. I've got a test configuration, and I've also got some community configurations that I use. What folks who contribute some of our documentation and work on contributions to the repo. Now for this, I'm going to go ahead and set up my clean code configuration, which is using Quad Opens 4. It also has rules built in on the box. And to explain this even better, I'll show you how this works specifically on the Continue Hub. Now, all these configurations are possible because I'm leveraging the Continue Hub, which I'll show here. Now in the Continue Hub, you can actually go to hub.continue.com, and I can quickly show you all my configurations using this Install Configurations button that will open up the side panel. And a lot of the similar names that you see from my Continue community, as well as my Continue organization, will all show up here within the sidebar. And if I go to my organizations, I can see all the configurations that I have set up specifically from the hub. And the beauty of this is that your configurations are accessible through Teams by simply just go ahead and install those. So if I want to install my personal configuration, I just click that button. And now I should have this same setup on my personal account in addition to my Continue community account. Now, if you've known about Continue for a long time, you know that Continue has another option, which is local configurations. So if you're using the CLI and you want to go to your local configuration, you specifically want to go all the way to the top, look for personal, and you'll see your local config.yaml. Now, whether you're in a local configuration or you're in a hub connected configuration, you should be able to go to /models and choose between the models you have installed within your configuration. And this is super useful if you have multiple models, if you want to route and switch between for different purposes while you're working in a tour mode. And if you're doing local configuration, I just want to point out that you do need to still have a connection to the hub and be signed in directly to the hub for the CLI. If you're leveraging the Continue extension, you don't need to actually be signed in to leverage this. So I'm going to open up Zed and open up my local configuration. And this is where all my models will be stored. And here in my configuration, I'll have all the 3 models that I have already set up between Quincoder, GPTOS 20B, and I'm also doing auto detect, which will just go ahead and access to all models locally. So switching back to my Continue configuration, which is called Awesome Models, I did want to show if you did have multiple models installed specifically within one configuration, you could switch it pretty easily like so. One thing I also want to mention is that if you're interested in learning more about this, we do have a guide specifically about configuring your models, rules, and tools for either your CLI or with your Continue extension, either through VS Code or JetBrains. And if you're interested in learning more about how to understand the difference between using the hub configuration versus using the local configuration to a config.yaml, definitely check out this guide. Also, I do want to mention that the CLI is optimized for connections to the hub. Now, you will need to be logged in to use the CLI configurations, but if you are finding that there are some edge cases, all of Continue is open source. So I do recommend if you do have any sort of questions or edge cases, do open a GitHub issue, or if you have something that's more open-ended and you have some feedback either to the CLI, or if you'd like to submit a feature request, leverage our GitHub discussions. With that, happy hacking.